Chefs.
Hello.
Welcome to Top Chef Carolinas. And welcome to Charlotte.
Welcome to the Eat Your Content podcast. I'm your host, Rich Herrera. Thank you for tuning in. Just a quick reminder to follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content, so you know when things are happening with the podcast, and make sure you like and follow on your podcast player of choice so you know when new episodes drop. This is the first week, Top Chef, Season 23, Episode 1 in the Carolinas. And joining me this week and every week thereafter for the whole season, Chef Corwin Hemming from Top Chef Season 22. Chef Corwin, thanks again for joining me.
Rich, what's going on, man? I'm ready to get into this. Episode 1 was super juicy. I had a little bit of anxiety watching it because I know all the emotions they were going through in Episode 1. So I'm ready to unpack and talk about this one for sure. You know, obviously having gone through it a year ago and watching the episode, I know exactly what all the chefs were feeling. It's the first time you're sitting in front of Tom, Kristen, Gail, and your nerves are going. And you know, a lot of people made mistakes, which we're gonna unpack here today.
Oh yeah, we got a lot to unpack. It was an action-packed episode. A lot of things happened that I've never seen happen, that I'm surprised didn't happen more often on previous seasons of Top Chef. So let's get right into it. Let's jump right into the quickfire. We're at Charlotte Motor Speedway, starting off big. And it looks like they filmed this in the summer. It looked hot. You know, I'm from Florida. I've been to Daytona International Speedway. It's hot in those tracks.
Sweating. 100%.
Everyone was sweating. It's like the sun is just concentrated on this racetrack. Getting into the challenge, there's no immunity for quickfires. So you earn immunity at the elimination challenge. Guest judges were NASCAR legends Jimmy Johnson and Kyle Busch, and Jimmy Johnson was Du Yen's boss, which is kind of interesting to read and hear.
Yeah.
The challenge. So in teams of 3, they pick teams on the spot, create one dish in the time it takes a pro driver to do 23 laps around the track. So I want to talk about the teams kind of splitting off here for just a second. In my head, I feel like this is the first time they're meeting each other and the first time they're seeing each other. Like I know on Survivor, for instance, they're really strict about don't talk to each other before you start filming. Don't get, you don't get to know each other at all.
Top Chef is
being in that position. Is it the same way?
100% the same way. My first day, we came down from our apartment buildings one by one. They put us in a van. They said no talking. We looked around at each other aimlessly. I knew Vinny. I knew and Lana from New York City. So, you know, I couldn't say anything to them. We were all in the same van, but, you know, everybody else I didn't know. And so it's definitely nerve wracking. You know, you're just thinking about like, what are they going to throw us at? You know, they don't tell you anything. They don't tell you where you're going. It's like very secretive, and they just want you to basically just use all that emotion on camera while you're cooking. So it's a lot of nerves for sure.
So you don't, unless you happen to know the other chefs, and the hospitality industry is kind of a small world. It's not like Survivor where it's complete strangers. But you know, you said you knew 2 people from your season, so you get an idea a little bit about their work, about what you've seen them do in the past. So when you're pairing off in teams or splitting off into teams, unless you happen to know them, you don't know anything about them. So this is really nerve wracking in splitting teams up like this. So. But they split up in teams pretty quickly. When you're first lined up there and you hear the challenge and first impressions, what are you thinking? Who would have been who would you have made a beeline to for your 2 people on your team if you were in this challenge?
It's hard to say because my season we drove knives for our cars, and that's who we got paired with. So I got paired with Kat and Henry from my season, and that takes all the competitive, you know, or the shakiness away, because, you know, they're probably looking around at each other like, well, who do I go with? And then you see like Day and Nana go to each other. The married couple decided to go their separate ways. The twins decided to go their separate ways. You know what I mean? So you're seeing like some people being like taking a strategic route, and you're seeing some people trying to take like a comfortable route and being like, well, I know that person, so let me see what that's about. Just because the ideas I have and I think that want to, you know, create a cohesive dish, it's got to come together or it doesn't. You know, you guys got to communicate. And we saw immediately out at the back, people were either struggling with communication, or you're not trying to be like overly assertive, and you saw some teams just on it. Everybody communicated well. And I think that those were the teams that put up the best dishes. You know, we saw one team was slicing fish, and he's like, not to be an asshole, you're slicing your fish way too thick. And the second Tom picked it up with his fork and was like, yo, this fish is not sliced properly. But one of my favorite things about Top Chef or any cooking show is hearing somebody being like, I'm really good at this. And then they go on camera and do it poorly. And it's like, bro, like, come on, man. Like, if you're gonna say you're good at fish butcher, you got to butcher fish. Like, don't you didn't even have to butcher the fish. You just took the skin off essentially and sliced. So like, we gotta. It's the nerves. It's hot, and then you serve a crudo hot. There was a lot of things going on, but yeah, that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, and that was Brandon that was saying that. I do love the editing.
Yeah.
And every time they do this on Top Chef, and like you said, other cooking shows, the moment they say I'm good at something, they cut to them not doing that thing well. And it's so
happened to
funny.
me as well. Everybody's like, the brunch episode, everybody's like, oh, F brunch. I hate brunch. And I was like, I love brunch. Had a terrible service. It's how it plays out.
And it's so funny because obviously when you're in the moment, you're doing that confessional interview, you don't know how it's going to get all spliced and edited together. I wonder if Brandon watched that. What's that?
It plays out how it's supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. I wonder if Brandon watched that back at his watch party and was like, oh, man.
He's probably at home butchering fish right now and then like, it's never going to happen again to me.
Exactly. I'm never going to be caught like that ever again.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny. But with the Quickfire, there wasn't a time limit. The time limit was how long it took a race car driver to do 23 laps around the Charlotte Motor Speedway. So I was like, I wonder how much time that is. So I did some Googling.
Okay.
And it takes an average NASCAR driver about 11 to 13 minutes to do 23 laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Oh,
so
man.
I know, right? So let's be generous. This wasn't a pro driver driving it. It's somebody else driving it. So let's be generous and say they had maybe 15 minutes.
15 to 20 minutes comfortably.
Yeah, 15 to 20 minutes, maybe. But if it was like Jimmy Johnson or Kyle Busch, it definitely would have been like an 11-minute, 23 laps. But I was like, that's still not a lot of time. So they are just off, pun intended, off to the races and just going crazy. So the blue team, or I should talk about the team split up here. So the red team was Anthony, Brandon, and Seeger. The blue team was Jennifer, Jonathan, and Lawrence. The yellow team was Day, Duane, and Nana. The green team was Brittany, Jossie, and Justin. And the purple team was Oscar, Rhoda, and Sherry. So let's talk about some of the dishes they put up. Yeah. So the red team did a cured snapper with tomato vinaigrette, avocado, radish, and cucumber. What did you think of that dish?
I thought it was smart because you wanna go with something that you obviously can get a lot of flavor into, but everybody's trying to throw their ideas together. So you need to make something that's obviously fast, cohesive. You can make a quick pickle, which I think they put up a successful dish. You know, the judges liked it. So I think that they were able to work cohesively together.
Yeah, the blue team did the crab and shrimp hush puppy with harissa aioli, Napa, and peach salad. That's the one for me. I mean, they ended up winning, but that one for me looked the best. And I think was probably the smartest decision out of all of them. Everybody was doing some sort of like cold application, and they said, "No, let's go the other way," and did something a little bit different. So, thoughts on the blue team?
It was a toss-up because they were having trouble early on getting their fritter mix right, you know, but smart cooking is testing something before you try to go just do it in one swing. And I think that that's the testament of having like good skills as a chef. You're cooking in a new environment. It's outside, it's hot. There's a lot of, everything's variable. You've never worked with any of these heat systems that you're working with. And so testing your batter as soon as you make it and making those adjustments right then and there, I think that that's why they were able to have a successful dish. Also, because I think that they stuck to the theme of this season of Top Chef. They did a Southern dish. Mm-hmm. They weren't trying to go do their own personal cuisine or a dish at their restaurant. They made something Southern. And I think that whoever is going to go on to win this season is going to cook Southern food consistently day in and day out. And that's where we saw them, you know, they put up a hush puppy dish. I thought it was a little bold. I'm like, I don't know if I would have gone with hush puppies this soon because hush puppies is probably going to come up for another challenge. So how do you reinvent yourself? But that could also lean into those three chefs' advantage if they're still in.
Yeah. Yep. The yellow team, Dan, Duyen, and Nana did harissa butter poached shrimp with charred cabbage and pickled green tomato. I liked the green tomato. I thought that was very Southern. Especially with a pickle, excuse me, with a pickled green tomato. I thought that was a nice spin on it. And it, you know, harissa poached shrimp. That sounds delicious. What are your thoughts there?
I think once again, they made smart decisions picking certain ingredients. They wanted balance on the plate. Somebody was like, oh, we're going with this harissa. It's hot, it's buttery, it's going to be heavy. We needed pickles. You know, they were communicating their thoughts as a team and they worked well together. And I think they put up a successful dish. Once again, they were in the top three.
Yep. And then the green team was Brittany, Jossie, and Justin. They did a pan-seared red snapper with corn and cauliflower salad and a moily sauce. I thought he said mole at first because I didn't quite pick up on it, but it was a moily sauce.
Moily sauce, yes. It's Southern Indian sauce.
Oh, yeah. And then they committed the cardinal sin of Top Chef. They served up undercooked fish and undercooked protein. That is never going to get you through to the next round. Was it kind of was it just a mistake in cooking? Was it just underestimating the time, like, or the clock got to him? What do you think happened there?
Yeah, so I think ultimately, it's just nerves. You should approach cooking on Top Chef very similarly to how you approach cooking if in your restaurant or your pop-ups or wherever you're at. Using a cake tester is like the thing that's gonna like you're gonna tempt your meats, test your meats. Like you can have them there. I would have immediately stuck a cake tester in that and been like, if it gives you resistance, it's not ready yet. There's checks and balances that I think. Let's go back to the winning team. They started frying their fritters ahead of time to test. They're doing the checks and balances along the way, and that's all cooking is. If you cook a steak medium rare, you're temping on the cake tester to make sure that it's not over resting, or it's not going to over rest. It's not slicing too soon. You're doing the things that work, and I think everybody was scrambling, just kind of emotionally cooking without rhyme and rhythm. But that's what competition cooking does to you. It exposes your flaws very quickly, or it exposes where your mental status is very quickly, and that makes for bad dishes getting put up that Tom, Gail, and Kristen are not going to let fly ever.
Yeah. It's amazing the caliber chefs that come on to Top Chef, but then when you get into competition, especially if they haven't competed before, right? If this is their first time ever doing any kind of cooking competition, and the clock gets to them and the pressure of all that, the basics go right out the window. It's like you just forget. It's like you forget what to do. And I've never been in that position, so it's easy for me as an armchair quarterback to be like, dude, what are you doing serving up raw fish? But you've been there, so you know that when that pressure comes, it's those basic fundamentals that sometimes just go right out the window, right?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah, crazy. So the purple team was Oscar, Rhoda, and Sherry. They did a shrimp ceviche and avocado aguachile with a crab salad, another kind of cold application. Looked like a good dish. I thought it was good. They were on the top, so I think it served them well.
Yeah, I think they approached it smart. They knew they wanted to do ceviche, but it's like 100 degrees outside. So let's leave our mise en place under the table while we prep. As soon as we get our task thrown into the table, they probably had coolers or some ice in there. And instead, of serving a warm ceviche, as Seeger's team did, and Kristen immediately said, love a warm ceviche. That's like Kristen would throw pockets of information at you like that to let you know, like, don't do this again or adjust this for your next cook without saying that. And that team, once again, they were thinking about the little steps, having a cold dish go out cold. On my season, we had a cold challenge. And first thing Kristen did was touch the bowl, and the plates are ice cold, 100%. So if you're going to think about a dish, hot food, hot plate, cold dish, cold plate. They thought about the steps, and that's why they were in the top.
Yep, that's right. So bringing it down, the top teams were the purple, yellow, and blue team, and the bottoms were red and green. Raw fish, badly butchered fish. That's going to get you. Those fundamentals are going to get you every time. The blue team was the overall winner, so they did a good job. They split $15,000 between them. So one thing with the Quickfires this year is all the winning Quickfires get cash instead of immunity. So you could walk away, they said, with $100,000 potential dollars in Quickfire quick cash. So that's great. So overall, what did you think of this very first Quickfire challenge to kind of break the ice, kind of get to know the chefs and their cooking style? Who, going into the elimination challenge, who did you see like, okay, I want to keep an eye on them, or who did you see kind of stand out? And what do you think of the challenge in general, opening up the season?
So from our last segment, I think we need to highlight a couple things. One, obviously we picked teams, so I was watching my picks very closely. Yeah. Like, did I pick based on emotion or did I pick based on logic? And I think I did a very 50-50 split, seeing how everybody performed in that first challenge. Also, we talked about bootlegging culture in our first segment. We talked about moonshining having a place in the Southern cuisine and where it stands. And, sure enough, NASCAR opens up with that. So I think you and I were 1 for 1 there, and then we'll see how our picks develop from there. But I think all the chefs, opening up with their bio, seeing who they are and what they're about. I like that the twins are competitive, man. They're competitive against each other, and I think that's their advantage. I think potentially when one of them gets eliminated, they're losing that 50% of you is either going to catapult them up even higher, or and use it, as banter amongst the brothers, or they're gonna be like, dang, like the guy that's been pushing me my whole life is gone, and it could affect negatively. But I was ultimately watching my picks and being like, all right, what's Day doing? What's Nana doing? What's Anthony doing? What's Seeger doing? I was going with my team, and a lot of them had a rocky start. So Rich, you may have me on this first episode, man.
Yeah, we'll break down the points here at the end of the episode,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about how everybody scored and what gets points. And yeah, I thought this was a really good first challenge, especially opening up with NASCAR, Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's like you are in the Carolinas, right? You are in the South. NASCAR. There's nothing more southern than NASCAR, right?
Yeah.
So it really established the Carolinas as its base, and it gave you just some quintessential southern things, and with the race cars and the speed and how quick it was. I thought it was a really good way to break the ice, and watching them work in teams, not knowing each other, obviously is a good way to start a little bit of drama. But yeah, what you were saying earlier about that one guy's like, I don't mean to be an asshole, but you're cutting your fish a little thick there. He's like, he qualified his statement like, look, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but watch your knife.
Challenge, there's money on the line, and I'm trying to win it, is what I heard him say.
That's
I
right.
heard Super say.
Exactly right. But that'll probably be the last time he does something like that. Because I can see him like calling people out. If he makes it to Restaurant Wars, he could be one to be like, dude, get it together.
100%. You got to hold people accountable. And even though it's an individual challenge, your teammates can literally get you sent home on accident or on purpose. I mean, accidents happen on the show, man. We saw in my season, for example, Schwei accidentally threw away Henry's mise en place. And that literally I couldn't even imagine, and it wasn't on purpose, he was very remorseful for it, but accidents happen on the show, man. And if sometimes you're not laser locked in, and somebody else's work can get you sent home.
That's right. So let's get right into the elimination challenge. It was a sweet potato challenge, which I did not know North Carolina is the #1 producer of sweet potatoes in the U.S. So nice little factoid there. But again, another quintessential Southern vegetable, sweet potatoes. And they have 4 types. I did not know there were 4 types of sweet potatoes. You got the Covington, Norton, Purple Majesty, Murasaki, and Carolina Ruby. And this was an individual challenge, but they each drew knives for the type of potato they were going to have to highlight and cook. And they were presenting in their groups of potatoes. So you're comparing potatoes to potatoes, essentially. So the guest judges were Top Chef alum Jamie Lynch, Sean Brock, Kyle Johnson, and Chidi Kumar. So a good batch of guest judges. What did you think when you saw some of those names and faces come out?
I think they just came with it for the first episode, between the pro NASCAR drivers, all these chefs that have accolades, or Top Chef alums, Sean Brock, brought back CGR. There's just a lot of people here in this room right now that literally are not only Southern, but they bring their own weight with them. And so I think the cooks are going to feel the pressure of this first challenge as we're getting ready to dive into here.
Yeah, and truly Southern chefs with Jamie Lynch and Sean Brock for sure. I'm not familiar with Kyle Johnson or Chidi Kumar's body of work, but definitely know Jamie Lynch from previous Top Chef seasons, and Sean Brock. And so let's talk a little bit about what was revealed. So Tom breaks the news that there's no Last Chance Kitchen for the first 2 eliminated chefs, and it was a shocker to them. So now the pressure's even more pronounced. Nobody loves to be the first one out, but now it has like real consequences. You lose, you go home. Like there's no second chance for you. And we talked about that in our last episode. Like I don't know if I like that decision. We'll see how it plays out, but you're gonna lose that underdog story like with Bailey, and that happened last season, and seeing that type of story play out. But we'll see. I don't know. Maybe it helps people to cook better in the first couple of rounds instead of trying to maybe play it safe. I don't know. We'll see how it goes out, how it goes down. What do you think of this first challenge as a sweet potato challenge? Did you like it? Did you think it was a good challenge to start with? Was it challenging enough as a first elimination challenge?
Yeah, I think it was a great challenge in the sense that it threw an ingredient that is now the focal point, that is typically not the focal point ever. Sweet potatoes are underutilized. People were trying to do sweet potato fries for the longest time. That had a moment that feels that really quick. And, unless you're cooking season, it's like, what do you do with a sweet potato? Do you puree it? Do you shingle it? There's a lot of variations you can make sweet potatoes work with. But I think it's a tough ingredient to make shine as the focal point of a dish. So if the chefs are not good with vegetables, we're going to see it right here.
Yeah, and they only had an hour, right? So you really had to think about, because sweet potatoes take a while to cook.
Yeah.
If you decide to cook them whole, so you had to think, all right, how can I make this the star of the dish? cook it quickly and not it be the background, because it's so, sweet potatoes are so used to being the side player. Thanksgiving, the sweet potato souffle, it also ran to the turkey and everything else going on in Thanksgiving, but you're having to make this the focal point. Some did really well, obviously we're going to talk about, some did not, and some ended up using the sweet potato as the side dish, and unintentionally, but that's what happened based on how they cooked. So I want to talk a little bit about Day and Nana having a rough go. Nana had a rough go. I have not seen a panic attack happen in Top Chef, and honestly, I'm surprised it doesn't happen more often on there. But I talked last episode that you know Nana personally.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a rough time kind of watching her go through that experience, knowing who she is as a chef and as a person, as a friend?
Yeah.
What were your thoughts as she was having her breakdown?
I watched Nana and Day, who I know personally both, and it's tough to watch. It feels like the worst service you've ever had because there's no next service. Bad service, you're going home, and watch them in a moment where they should have just taken a deep breath and dialed back, really just lose track of time and making bad decisions in the kitchen. Been there. I almost got eliminated for it on my season too, and I know exactly what they're feeling. It's not how you want to represent yourself. Top Chef, that clock is unforgiving. An hour is not a lot of time, and if you're not ready to go and start plating with like 10 minutes on the clock, you're shot yourself in the foot. My first episode, for example, on our season, there was a couple of us who missed mise en place. Tristan missed a sauce. It doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get eliminated or lose, but you're ineligible to win. So you just immediately throw yourself into the middle of the pack or at the bottom by missing an ingredient that you put on your menu. Kat on my episode missed her fish right out the gate. I missed my jus. It didn't get aired, but I missed my jus on the first challenge. I was sitting there plating and I underestimated how fast 4 minutes is going to go by. I looked at the clock and I was like, all right, I need to start plating right now. I should have been plating. You know what I mean? Like, it's competition cooking. You got to be ready to go with all your mise en place with 10 minutes on the clock. And at like 7 minutes, you're like plating, depending on how many plates you got to put out. You got to like have your ducks in a row. And there's a strategy to it. But the hard part is if you've never competed at the Top Chef level, you just don't know. And for some, it's a one and done. You didn't know, and then that's your mistake, and you shoot yourself in the foot. And you start looking at the clock and everybody's shouting 3 minutes and the cameras are in your face and you're sweating and it's hot and you're in a new environment. There's so many variables that you're just out of your control, and all that pressure culminated. And I feel like Day also was having a panic attack. She was, moving around. I want to throw my fish in the heat lamps, but the heat lamps weren't on. And she's like, just doing things the wrong way. The oven that she wanted to put her fish on wasn't on, so she was running across the kitchen. Now she's feeling the pressure. Nana was peeling potatoes and somebody was like, yeah, she's peeling a lot of potatoes. Like you're only making a dainty plate for 8 people. So like you need to account for your mise en place and how you attack that. There's a strategy to all of this, but it comes with competition cooking experience. You know what I mean? Tristan said something really good behind scenes to me when we were off camera, and he was like, look, bro, like, you watch certain people do things, and he's like, don't waste time thinking this is like your kitchen at home or like your professional kitchen that you're in, that you're the chef of. Like, I would skip steps because that clock is unforgiving. And he was right 100%. And the fact that he knew he's had multiple cooking competition experience. And so it translated for him. Yeah, he made his mistakes too, just like the rest of us. Everybody's going to make their mistakes, but there's things that you got to do. You got to stick to your guns, and you just got to be like, look, if I'm not ready on this, I'm just not going to use that component. And Nana was just not ready. I don't think I've ever seen a season where other chefs had to jump in and help you plate on an individual challenge. That's hard. That's tough. Like, bottom as you get. And, she put up food that she typically would have never put up. Same with Day. I feel confident. I've worked next to both of them before. I know that this is not their best, and this is not who they are as chefs. And, you saw Kristen immediately have a moment of humility because she has character, and walk over to Nana and be like, look, whenever you're ready, come over to the table, because we got to do this. But this is, you're a phenomenal chef with or without this. This is not a representation of you. And, had to like talk her down because she physically, like, I know what that feels like. After I had a shitty service, I literally was just like, this sucks. Like, I'm going home. I could have swore I was going home. And I was like, and I deserve to. Like, I'll eat it on the chin. I had a bad service. There were things that were in my control, and there were things that were out of my control that led to me having a bad service. And in those moments, you kind of like look at yourself and you're like, man, this is not what I came here to do. So I know in Dave's mind, in Nana's mind, that's exactly how they feel. This is not what I came here on Top Chef to show the world I was capable of, and it sucks.
Yeah. And you know, there's that saying, control the controllables, control what you can
Yeah.
control. But in this environment, there's so little that you can control
Yeah.
other than your own dish, right? And let's talk about going into an unfamiliar kitchen right out, you know, at first. You know, every outside of the Top Chef studio, when you're doing that, you're going into other people's restaurants, kitchens. You don't know anything about that. I'm sure you don't get a tour of the place before the challenge starts. So you're going in, you have no idea how these stoves work. You have no idea how these ovens work. You don't know, you know, a lot of things on there. So talk to me a little bit about when you first go into a kitchen that you're unfamiliar with, on top of everything else, like you how much of a struggle is that to in that time to one, get it together, get it in gear, and then just start cooking?
So it's twofold. The Top Chef team that facilitates everything is extremely organized. They have a culinary director and a culinary team that has walked through that kitchen before you even thought about stepping in that kitchen. So they've assessed the entire totality of what you're getting ready to walk through, and they address things that are concerns. If there's refrigeration that doesn't work, they're going to be like, look, do not use this refrigeration. And you have to be like, okay, I understand. And then they walk you through the kitchen. When you first get there, the first thing you do is we're going to do a quick walkthrough. So as a chef, you start taking mental notes. Okay, rondos are here, sauteed pans are there, hotel pans are here. You start piecing it together, but it moves so fast. You've got maybe a couple of minutes to walk through, ask a couple of questions, and then basically it's all right, get in line, we're getting ready to do this. Because once the cameras start rolling, you got to go. And so it is nerve-wracking to walk into a new environment and being like, okay, do they have a Vitamix? Does it work? Is it cracked? You know, like, are these things functional? And then you get in there and you quickly find out certain things that potentially were working don't work. Or, you know, that's competition cooking. That's what this is. This is why Top Chef is so great, because you get thrown in a mix and either you make magic and you look great on camera, or you give TV drama and it's still great on both sides. And it's tough to watch, but you know, it makes for great TV. You know, you can't, I was watching it like biting my nails, being like, oh man, Nana, come on. Like, I wanted her to win. And in a moment, I'm like, I know exactly what that feels like. Like, it's tough, man. So you got to take mental note as soon as you walk in these kitchens, these new environments, and really quickly assess within like 5 seconds of being like, I'm going here, I'm grabbing that first move. Second move is here. I'm putting my cutting board, my tools, my mise en place. I'm getting as fast. I got to go as fast as possible. And then you got to start building a mental checklist. At this time, I need to be plating. This time, I need to have this ready. This time, I need to do this. If I'm grilling a steak, I got to have the steak rested. So I need 15 total minutes before zero, 20 minutes before zero to like stage that out. And you got to like stick to your timelines, or you're just going to crash and burn hard.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting you said that you do get a quick walkthrough. Does that walkthrough happen before the challenge starts, or the day before, or when in your season, when was that happening?
Yeah, it happens the morning of. So like, you know, if we're in the kitchen at 8 o'clock, like to start at 7:30, culinary director of Top Chef is basically taking you through your rules. You know, there are rules to this. Like the Top Chef team has spent 23 years perfecting this craft, and they're really good at it. And so there's no surprises. There may be a surprise that got past everybody, but it's like the 1%. You know what I mean? And so I think that that's where you as a chef need to like, there's no floaties, there's no training wheels. Like this is the big leagues. Like we're playing for the best of the best right here. And there's a reason why I'm on the show. And you got to like dig deep in your bag, and you got to like stay focused, man. It's a new environment and everything's new. There's cameras in your faces. There's new chefs around you. You got to be in competition with yourself. You can't be looking around worrying what other people are doing, because then you're just distracting yourself.
Yeah, yeah. So we talked earlier about when the pressure gets to you, sometimes the basics go out the window. So I want to talk about Brittany for just a second. Choosing to try to cook a whole pork loin, pan seared, with 23 minutes left on the clock. Even I was watching that, and I am by no means a professional cook, right? So even I know a whole pork loin with 23 minutes. I was like, girl, what are you thinking? Like, did you watch that and go, what in the world are you thinking, Brittany?
Bold move, but at the same time, if you can pull it off, if you've done it before and you know it works, like go for it. Like, you know, for example, I have a PDR tomorrow night where we have to cook filet mignon, and you know, one of my teams on chef were like, "Oh, are we going to butcher all the fillets individually and cook them?" And I'm like, "For 65 people, no way, Jose. We're going to roll all these loins and we're going to cook them in whole loins, and then we're going to slice once we have our temperature inside." It's bold. I mean, if you work meat roast at a place and you have skills and you've got confidence in yourself, it's bold. But when it pays off, it pays off. And if it doesn't, Tom's gonna sit there and throw this plate right back at you. You know.
Yeah, but I mean, she had 3 pork loins in a pan with 23 minutes left. I mean, maybe if you had one in there, but you had 2 others sucking up heat out of that pan.
100% was not a good move. It's sticking to the basics and like not overcrowding your pan, like you're saying. Like you're just talking right to the points. If you see it on TV and you're like, oh, I wouldn't have done that, and you're not even a chef, that goes to show you like that's a risky move. That like in the moment, the pressure is just getting to everybody. It's the first competition to shake the jitters off. Like they're not thinking, they're trying to win, but it's like you've got to win over 13 weeks, not one day.
Yeah, yeah. So I was just like, no way. And then when she was presenting it, she's like, oh, what temperature were you wanting to cook this pork? Oh, medium rare. No one eats medium rare pork, not if they value their intestines, right? I'm like, and I want to talk about that. I was going to wait until we get to the presentation, but since we're here now,
Yeah.
There is something to be said about trying to talk your way through it, right? You know you messed up and you try to, oh yeah, I meant to do that. You can't do that on Top Chef. Tom, Gail, and Kristen have seen too much to know when you're BSing them. And the moment she said, yeah, I like it medium rare, I'm like, stop.
It's not a steak. It's pork. It's not a steak.
Yeah,
like I don't let customers order temperature steak like pork. Like it's just not a thing. Like you should cook it more on the medium well side. Like it's just it can have a little hint of rouge, but like no, it's not supposed to be an undercooked protein at all. Which crowding the pan definitely added to that. There's no amount of oven blasting. You're just gonna have a well done pork, which is why like I steer away from like pork loin in competitions for that reason. We saw my season, Mimi cook pork loin. I'm not, when I looked at that basket, I was like, I'm staying away from that one. That was literally the first basket. I was like, oh, there's pork loin there? I'm not doing it. Because I just know I don't want to serve it. You're going to slice it. It's going to dry out. It's going to oxidize. By the time it gets to the judges, it's not going to look as great as it should. I'm going to go with beef because beef stands up a little bit better, and that's what I did. But that also comes with like experience and knowing like what you're trying to do. If I got pork loin, would I try my best to cook it? Yeah, I probably would. But if I can not have that, I'm going to steer away from it because Mimi also overcooked hers. It was well done. It was, and when you cook well done pork, it gets dry, it shreds a little bit. When you slice, it's a little bit, it just looks bad. And, you just got to know these things. Like going into a cooking competition, you got to know like what your guns are. You got to do more research. I'm not going to go in there and try to make risotto in any of these competitions unless risotto is the challenge. I'm not going to do it. Can somebody do it successfully? Sure. We watched the finale of Arvaras where risotto was one of the components and they all cooked it successfully. But I'm not raising my hand and saying I'm going to cook risotto on Top Chef. I'm not doing it. There's too much room for error, and we've watched too many chefs go down on that.
Yeah, I was like, Brittany, don't try to talk your way through this. They know it's raw. Just own up to it and say, yeah, I messed up. I messed up. I let the clock get to me. I had to put something on the plate. I apologize that I'm serving you raw pork. This is not who I am as a chef. Just trying to get the jitters out. It's like, no, I like my pork medium rare. No, you don't. You eat that then. You eat the medium rare pork. I'm not going to eat the medium rare pork.
Every cut of pork everywhere is like you cook it through. You cook it bacon, pork belly.
That's right.
You cook it through. You could just do.
I was like, oh no, Brittany, and amazing that happened. And I was watching it. I was like, 23 seasons. This is not what you do. You don't try to talk your way through your mistake as if you meant to do it. You own up to your mistakes. You throw yourself at the mercy of the judges and hope you don't go home.
Tom is not the one.
That's right. Tom is not the one. So let's talk through the presentations. Let's go with the Carolina Rubies first. So Sherry did Carolina Ruby moqueca with green papaya chow chow. Jonathan did grilled pork loin, Carolina Ruby bacon jam, sweet potato puree and pickled okra. They did the roasted Carolina Ruby with herb de Provence, sauce Creole, and roasted snapper. The winner was Jonathan. So each group of 3, they picked a winner and the person up for elimination right then and there, which is an interesting way to start, immediately where you stand right after service, instead of having to sit in the stew room for 5 or 6 hours. So Sherry was safe. Jonathan was the winner, and Day was up for elimination. Very clear. There was no guesswork on this one, unfortunately. Jonathan's looked really good, though. I mean, his looked like a very complete dish in an hour. It had, it had all the elements there, and it made the sweet potato the star. He made a bacon jam with the sweet potato and sweet potato puree, the pickled okra for the acidity, the grilled pork loin. So he had a protein and a sweet potato, but the potato didn't play a backseat to the pork loin. So I thought his was obviously clear favorite, clear winner of those three. Day, unfortunately, her oven didn't work and she didn't realize it, and she was scrambling and served undercooked protein and undercooked potatoes.
Yeah, I think had Day had a piece of fish or two undercooked, she might have not got eliminated. But every
Yeah.
chef literally cut into their fish and said undercooked, 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 undercooked. And I was like, oh man, that's nobody turned the oven on. Like she didn't check. Like first thing you
Yeah.
do is that's the first thing I would have did when I walked into the kitchen is if I'm using something, turn it on. Nobody's here to save you. Like throw your life jacket on first and save yourself. But I thought the winning dish was, well, like you said, was very complete. Used sweet potatoes in multiple components. Also pulled on another southern ingredient from okra and added to balance his dish out. Once again, I think this first episode showed us of the contestants who the men or women that are thinking like clearly, who are using their advantage of good cooking technical skills to their advantage. And I think there's already a line being drawn in the sand right now.
Yeah, yeah. The ones that won were head and shoulders than the ones that were up for elimination. It wasn't even close.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the next potato, the Murasaki potato. So Anthony did a seared scallop with Murasaki okra. I can't remember how that's pronounced. Akra. Murasaki fondant and jus. Nana did a Murasaki impotampoto. I knew I was going to screw that one up. With collards and smoked ham. Lawrence did Murasaki and pork stuffed collard green sarma with tomato and yogurt. So the winner was Anthony with the seared scallop. And Nana was up for elimination. Man, the plate, I felt so bad. There was a ring mold left in one of the bowls. Oh, that was tough to watch.
I could have swore she was going home. After watching that, I was like, that's, she didn't have a timeline down together. But we already addressed that. I think let's talk about Anthony.
Yeah.
I think coming out and showing, for me personally, and all the people that have been a part of the Top Scallop conversation, the people that cook scallops well on Top Chef go on to win that challenge. Yeah. I had 2 back-to-back challenges where I was top 3, and I won one of those using scallops. And it's just a testament to treating the scallop properly. And his dish was super beautiful. Like I saw that and I was like, ooh, that's a nice dish. It was dainty, single scallop. Sauce looked really nice. His components were there. He highlighted the sweet potato. I think he just showed all around technical cooking skills, from the searing of the scallop, finishing of it, to sauce work, to cooking the potato. There was no notes from the judges, and it's not there's a reason why he won. He clearly excelled this, and he's on the other side of the sand where I'm saying certain chefs are coming in and asserting themselves, and they also tried to help Nana. I think they showed a little bit of selflessness in helping Nana out, because had she not, I don't think she would have put a single plate up. That it's tough. Like I could have sworn she was going home based on there was collard greens hanging off the plate. It's tough, man. Competition cooking will break you very fast. And she had a day, but she lives on. I'm eager to see how she bounces back. Like she better come out like Rocky Balboa, like swinging for the fences. Like I've worked at a busy restaurant with Nana. I've seen her bang on the line, man. I've cooked family meal with this girl before. I know she has it in her. So I'm rooting for her to like really come back and show the world, like on her next challenge, like that she's got that fire in her. Because if not, then it's just gonna be hard on her, and it's gonna be tough to watch.
Yeah, and Tom was the sole vote for Nana, and I was like, oh, that's so nice. Like I think the judges knew that Nana was going to be up for elimination, and I feel like Tom wanted to kind of boost her morale a little bit and be like, look, I'm going to vote for you. It's not going to be unanimously, because it's like kicking a dog when they're down, right?
Yeah,
like a unanimous no vote.
We've seen the judges do. We've seen them like be as hard of critics as possible, and it's tough, man. But the fact that Kristen and Tom really took a moment of like humility and been like, she just had the worst service of her life. Mm-hmm. Either we're going to lean into this and, like you said, kick her while she's down, or Tom was just like, I liked her sweet potato. It tasted really good. She actually showcased sweet potato the strongest in flavor of all these other dishes, and Tom's not always that graceful. Maybe Tom has turned a new corner in his old age, but Tom is not he's not graceful. When you're down, like Tom is gonna be like, no, it was some shit. Like, and this is why. And you can't hide behind it. And the fact that Nana didn't even try, she just was, yeah, all emotion. And Tom threw her a thumbs up in that. And shout out to Tom for that, man. He showed a moment of being, human, turned the chef brain off and said, you know what, like she's clearly over there not okay, and she knows she's going home. I thought she was going home, 100%. I was like, it's clearly Day, it's clearly Nana, it's one of them, and they don't get a redeem, they don't get a second chance in the Last Chance Kitchen. And so
Tom's a softie. Tom's just a big old softie now. 23 seasons in, he's a softie.
He's got a heart inside of him, man. I've had friends that have worked in his kitchens, and they're like, bro, he literally will flip the kitchen. If things aren't right, Tom will flip the kitchen. If one thing is wrong, Tom will flip the kitchen. So maybe he's just, he's rounded the corner in his old Top Chef age,
Let's talk about the Purple Majesty. So Oscar did a braised Purple Majesty with agave, chorizo hash, and pasilla salsa. Mm-hmm. Justin did a curry and cardamom poached Purple Majesty, brown butter, sweet potato puree, and cheese sauce. And Brandon did a Purple Majesty with caramel coconut and white chocolate sorbet with a sweet potato streusel and meringue. Only one to do dessert. Brandon stepped out and he really embraced the sweetness of the sweet potato and really played up dessert. I thought it looked great. The clear winner in that group. I thought, you go big with dessert or you go home with dessert. And I thought he did really well. Looked great. I would eat it in a heartbeat. What did you think of the Purple Majesty group?
I thought all balls, like straight up to Brandon. He was using liquid nitrogen to his advantage right out the gate. Those are things that typically will stir some chefs away from really hitting the gas. We saw Massimo on our season use liquid nitrogen wrong. He didn't paddle it with the right mixing tool in the mixer, and his ice cream didn't come together. So he served creme anglaise, which is not a bad thing. It's just not what he wanted to serve. So I think that the fact that Brandon came out and knew he wanted to execute a clear cut vision, and he did, and it looked really nice. And he was the only one who did dessert in a hot kitchen. We saw all the chefs sweating. He executed. He's setting himself apart. He's coming for the fences. He's swinging. He wants to win. Him and his brother are extremely competitive. That's the one thing I got from the twins, is that they're both very competitive, which means they're going to be built for some moments in this season. And this was his first chance at it.
Yeah, I thought it was a clear winner on that group. And to go for dessert when everybody else is going savory, smart move. Be 100%. Different, stand out. So I thought that was a smart move. So let's talk about the Covingtons. So Jossie did a rice and lentil kimchi with roasted Covingtons and yogurt pickles. Brittany did seared pork tenderloin, Covington puree, pickled and crispy sweet potato. And Rhoda did the soy glazed Covington with miso sweet potato puree and lime creme fraiche. Rhoda was the winner, and Brittany, obviously with the raw pork, was up for elimination. Rhoda, when I saw this, and storytelling, and again, from your perspective, storytelling is just as important as the cook itself. Mm-hmm. And out of all the chefs in this first elimination challenge, she really told the story of who she was in this dish, being that this is a Filipino street dish. And this is where the inspiration came from. And she grew up eating this. And I thought that's the overall winner. Like, as soon as she started talking and was talking about the dish, I thought this is the person that's going to, if it's not going to be Brandon, it's going to be Rhoda. That is going to be the overall winner of the elimination challenge. So let's talk Covington. So what did you think of this Covington group? What did you think of Rhoda, who won this particular challenge?
The first challenge is exactly what you just said. The judges literally tell you, put yourself on a plate here, and she went for it. Once again, she's drawing a line in the sand, and she's like, I'm here to try to win Top Chef. And she stood on that line in the sand today. She represented her culture very well. She lives in Hawaii. She cooks Asian food. She was not scared to pull her background and put it on a plate unapologetically. Even though it's street food, she dressed it up and made a very elegant dish that put her right in the winning chance.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Yeah. Excellent job by Rhoda there. So the Norton group, so you had Du Yen with Norton sweet potato and pandan mochi with ginger syrup and coconut cream. Seeger did a seared Norton roasted onion jus and a sweet potato puree. Jennifer did the condensed mill poach sweet potato with squash puree and pickled Nortons. Your winner of that group was Du Yen, and up for elimination for that group was Jennifer. Du Yen doing a mochi in an hour.
Yeah.
That's ballsy.
Bold. But at the same time, if you've done it before and you can do it in any environment, stick to your guns, stick to your strengths. I think fun fact about Top Chef that consumers don't know, everybody watching doesn't know, is you can't have any cooking inspiration with you when you come. They literally will take your cookbooks, old recipes. You can't have anything. So they set you up to like come in blank slate. Everybody's on the same playing field, which is great, 100%. But then they at some point give you a moleskin and they say, here's a pen, here's a moleskin, and everybody just starts boom, writing recipes that you've memorized, that you've done 1,000 times, 50 grams of this, 82 grams of this, warm water for this recipe. I guarantee you that recipe, she rolled in her moleskin, 100%. I'm willing to call her right now on Instagram and be like, hey, I know you don't know me, but did you write that recipe down? Because she executed it, and that's not something you just get lucky at, because Tom, Gail, and Kristen will eat it and be like, texture's off. And then they'll start asking probing questions about your mochi. But here, it worked out in her case. I'm willing to bet she wrote that recipe she had it in her back pocket, ready to go, 100%.
Oh, she probably made that thing 1,000 times, right? 1,000 times. And it's so impressive that all these recipes are coming off the dome, right? Just coming off the dome and off the top of their head, out of memorization, out of years of dedication and cooking these things over and over and over again. Yeah. That's why I'll never understand why somebody will go on Top Chef and cook something for the first time on Top Chef. Like it never works out for people.
Trying to impress too hard. You stick to your guns. Be you.
Yeah.
You're in competition with yourself, because if you have a bad cook on a competition, you're going home. Not somebody else cooked an amazing dish and that sent you home. Maybe that is the case sometimes when you get down to less people, but more often than not, it's you versus you. So like you said, why go try to do something you've never done before? Why would I try to go make pâte à choux, just as an example? If I've never made pâte à choux before, it's technical cooking. And like I said, the judges, they know what good food is and what not great food is. And so they got a lot of bad food in this first challenge, and they got a lot of really good food. And I think, we've got some stars here. I'm a bit nervous about your picks, man. I'm not gonna lie. You picked some sleepers. I think you might have had some insider news on what was going on there.
I picked some winners, man. I was loving watching this season or this episode. So let's talk judges table, which isn't a surprise. The top of the judges table was Brandon, Jonathan, Anthony, Duyen, and Rhoda. Bottom of the judges table was Jennifer, Brittany, Nana, Day, and Justin. The overall winner was Rhoda. So she wins the elimination challenge and immunity for the next elimination challenge. And Day was sent home. And really, I think the only reason why Day was sent home is because it was so undercooked. Like everybody's was undercooked. Yeah. Undercooked potato and undercooked fish. So nothing was really cooked on her plate at all. Whereas Nana had stuff cooked. It was just kind of a mess. But it tasted good. So yeah, I think if not for Day, Nana would have went home. Do you think the right person went home? Watching Day and Nana being on, we knew it was going to be on the very bottom. Do you think the right person went home?
Yes, but it's by a degree of like a hair. They both didn't represent themselves how they wanted to, and that's apparent. But your every dish you put up was wrong. So was Nana's, but yeah, man, it's tough. I think if I was at the judges table, I think Nana would have gone home for me, personally. It's tough, man. A ring mold on the plate to me was just like, I was like, oof. When I saw that, that's when I was like, oof, Nana's going home. I was almost sure. I could have swore. And then to see Day, when the judges all said everybody's was undercooked, I was like, like that's how it plays out, man. It's tough, man. Our first challenge, Kat forgot her fish on one, but she cooked a really tasty meal. And the judges liked her components. And she missed a piece of fish on, I think, like one or two plates, and missed a garnish here. And she was up for elimination out the back, and it was her and Mimi, and Mimi messed up every plate. And I think that was the determining factor. Every plate went out bad, and I think that's where the judges are like, all right, had they had another minute or two, they would have gotten it together. So that has to be a little bit redeemable. And plus, like, it didn't fall that way. I think the winner with Rhoda was 100% spot on. I think there was at least 5 people that could have come for it. The hard part is that degree of separation when you see other people, when you're in the topic of conversation and you don't win. That's the hardest degree, because it's like, well, what did they make? I didn't even see their dish because we're staggered in different times. So I never even saw their plate. So I didn't taste any of their sauces. Like, man, I wonder what they did to win. So that starts getting your brain rattling and being like, well, what can I do for the next challenge to come a little bit harder? Because if that person did it again, they're probably going to be in that conversation again. They're going to have another day. If they this is who they are and how they cook, they're going to have another day. So it starts putting you at a mental mind state of being like, all right, I'm in the middle of the pack. I didn't get any feedback. Am I at the bottom of the middle? Am I in the middle? Am I at the top of the middle? Was I like almost there to be in that top conversation, or am I just straight in the middle? So I think everybody is going back besides Rhoda, trying to retool for episode 2 and being like, I got to come harder. I got to do better, and the people at the bottom, like, they've got to figure it out. They've got to figure it out, because if they have another bad elimination challenge, that's just going to snowball into another elimination challenge, or quickfire. Sorry, if they have a bad quickfire, it's going to snowball into a bad elimination. So it's a snowball effect, man. You gotta pick yourself up and get your confidence quick in this.
Yeah, I thought Day was the right person to go home. Nana had a bad night for sure, but that's the rule in Top Chef. You serve undercooked protein to everybody, you're going to go home. You're going to go home.
Yeah,
But it could have been easily justifiable if Nana went home too. But I think Day just had the worst plate because of all that undercooked, not just the protein, but undercooked potato as well. So Nana, I am looking forward to seeing how she learns from this. I think, you have that panic attack. You have those things happen to you early, right? And now you got nowhere to go but up. And now you're in the competition now. You know what it feels like to be there, and you don't want to get there again. So now you pull yourself up, you put your chef jacket back on, and you get out there and you knock it out. So she's had that feeling before, and I have a feeling that she probably doesn't want to be there again. And I think we're going to see the comeback of Nana and seeing some of that African West Caribbean cuisine coming out and showcasing. So overall, I thought a great episode. Great episode to start off. A lot of drama, a lot of things
drama.
happening.
I was about to say that.
Yeah, lots and lots of drama. So speaking of drama, let's talk about the points. So here's how the points break down.
Okay.
For those of you scoring at home.
Finish. Let's do it.
That's right. So for the quickfire, if you win the quickfire, you get 5 points. Quickfire favorite dishes, you get 1 point. Quickfire least favorite dishes, you get -1 point. Elimination challenge win, you get 7 points. Episode sweep bonus, if you win the quickfire and the elimination challenge in the same episode, you get 3 bonus points. Judges table, if you're at the top of the judges table, you get 3 points. If you're at the bottom of the judges table, you get -2 points. And last chance kitchen win, as we go into last chance kitchen, for each last chance kitchen win, you get 2 points for your chef. So the way everything broke down, I'm not going to go through each individual chef because everybody was at the top or bottom of something on the elimination or on the quickfire challenge, because they were split up into teams. There weren't really individual tops or bottoms. They were all teams of tops and bottoms. And then you have the judges table. Everybody was either at the top or everybody was at the bottom. So you had half the team at the top, half the team at the bottom, because of the way things split up. So it was actually a lot closer than it seemed. So my team in total got 9 points for the episode, because I had some that's going to end up in the negative because of the way it panned out. And your team had 2. So we're starting episode 1 9-2. I'm in the lead. Yay. So I am winning 9-2 for this first episode. But man, it's early. So there's still a lot of game to play. When we get into the finale is when the real points start to happen. So if you're in the finale, if you make the season finale, you get 15 points per chef, and the winner of Top Chef gets 30 points. So who knows what's going to happen between now and then.
One of us is getting 30 points, and I'm hoping it's me.
Got a long way to go. Long way to go. But it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Chef Corwin, thank you so much. You're at work. You are at your restaurant. I see your chef jacket on. You took the time at the end of your service to help me and get on the pod, and I appreciate that so much. Where can people find you online? Where can people find you on socials, and what's going on at the restaurant?
You can follow me on Instagram at Chef Corwin Hemming. I am at Restaurant Isla in DC. Please come in, support the restaurant, come taste the incredible food that our team puts out on a nightly basis. Thank you for having me once again. I'm so excited for this. I actually make the mistake every year of overcommitting to too many fantasy leagues. I'm always in like 3 football, 2 basketball, and then now I got a Top Chef. I didn't win any of my fantasy leagues this year in football. I don't think I even made a single playoffs in football, and in basketball, we have 2 weeks left as of right now. And if I win both weeks, I might sneak into a like 6 seed. I'm just in shambles. Now I got 2 points. I think I'm gonna take next season's fantasy leagues off. I'm just going to take a break and then I'm going to retool, or I'm just going to slim down to one. But yeah, I appreciate you having me out this week. This was a lot of fun and can't wait to come back for that second episode and do it again.
Yeah, we're 9-2. I mean, something can be said about your fantasy league consistency, kind of always losing there.
This is not my jam, man. I gotta figure this out, man. I gotta start looking at some Vegas odds. Maybe you give me, start doing some spreadsheets to boost my odds here.
Some introspection of your picks is what's needed here. But just a reminder, follow me on socials at Rich Herrera and at Eat Your Content. We're doing this every week, all throughout the season of Top Chef. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you like and follow on your podcast player of choice so you know when new episodes drop. Chef Corwin, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, Rich. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Eat Your Content. If you like what you hear, please consider supporting the podcast through my merch store on TeePublic. Get great quality items like t-shirts, hats, mugs, and more, all sporting the vibrant Eat Your Content logo. Go to teepublic.com/user/eatyourcontent for more great items, and thanks for your support.